Hello, my name is Adrian Cox-Settles, and I want to welcome you to my workshop on the pros and cons of homeschooling and traditional schooling. The pros and cons of homeschool versus traditional schooling. Yes, that's such a heavy topic. Such a heavy topic. Now, are you worried that if you were to homeschool your child wouldn't be prepared for the future? Or are you unsure because you lack the knowledge on how it can be done successfully? If that sounds familiar to you, or it sounds I'm speaking to you, my workshop is tailored just for you. You're kind of on the fence. You're trying to figure it out. You want to do it because there's influence in the school or there's different things going on in the school, but you're just thinking, I don't know if this can work for me. So I gathered some information, very important information that I think you would love to hear. Again, my name is Adrian Cox-Settles. I am the author of B Poetry Book, and I'm the author of numerous other books, to say the least. I am the owner of Diverse Interactive Learning Tutoring Center, and I have amazing tutors. I am a math coach. I am a test strategist. In 2014, I was named the Outstanding Teacher of the Year from the National Technical Association. That was a big deal. Now, during my 20 plus years of teaching, but before I became a teacher, I was tutoring and I tutored all the way through my teaching career. So during my 20 plus years of teaching, I have taught fourth grade all the way through college, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and it goes on. I taught in the public, charter, private, and community college settings. So I taught in very diverse settings. I have also been a math department head. So I've ran math departments, teaching teachers how to teach, and I mentor teachers also. We got to bring them scores up. In my most recent years, I have had the pleasure of homeschooling and virtually coaching my son. Like I said, I had the pleasure. It was a different experience, but I was able to bring all those years of teaching and planning lessons and all those good tools from being a teacher into my homeschooling and virtual coaching sessions with my son. I have a great husband and I have three wonderful, marvelous sons. So that's to give you a little personal input. Now, homeschooling is very important, and traditional school is also. I just decided during this workshop, I want to show you everything that homeschool offers. And I want you to know more about what's going on in the traditional schooling. Because if anyone knows, I know I have been a student in the public school. I have been a teacher. I have been a department head. I've been a tutor. I have been a homeschooler, a virtual coach, and so on and so forth. So I understand the different mindsets or the different perspectives when it comes to homeschooling or any other type of schooling. I have been there. I have the experience. So I see things, you could say holistically. I see things holistically because I was in so many settings. Okay, so let's get started. Let's see, what do I have? Now, does this picture remind you of yourself, your child? Are you like trying to figure it out? So whether your child is in homeschool or traditional school, you always going to be trying to figure it out. There's always going to be something. All right. Now, again, we're going to school and homeschooling. Okay. When it comes to the academic curriculum, I'm going to talk about the traditional school first, and then I'm going to compare it to the homeschooling curriculum. Okay. The academic curriculum is extremely important when we're comparing traditional school, homeschooling, or any other type of schooling. It's like the meat and potatoes of what we. In a traditional schooling, you have a structured curriculum based on standard requirements. Okay? Standardized requirements. So basically, in a traditional school, for the most part, you're trying to get the kids ready for a standardized test. So there's a curriculum that goes along with that, how the child needs to think, how fast the child needs to move, the pacing guide, and so on and so forth. However, in homeschooling, you can also have a structured curriculum based on the standardized requirements. In homeschooling, you are free to do as you please, but you still have to cover the necessary content. So you can have a structured curriculum and you can have, based on standardized requirements. So you can do that. You can do that through an online school. There's several different online homeschools. One of them is Connection Academy. That's a pretty good one. And there's other ones too. So these particular schools, they are pre-designed, have pre-designed curriculum with everything. So your child would just go to school, but it would be online in the comfort of your home. Okay, that they will be getting in public school, but they will be in the comfort of your home. And also, they have online homeschool programs that offer live online classes with virtual teachers or recorded lectures and independent learning activities. So some school you might have a teacher that actually come in and work with the child. And then some schools have recorded videos where you can just go and watch the lesson. Now K-12, you can have live teachers and pre-recorded sessions. But time for learning, if you know about time for learning, they have a heavy curriculum. There's a lot in that curriculum. They gather everything and put it in one. So for time for learning, they have a lot of pre-recorded videos to a certain concept. Now, you can also put together, like I did, a flexible, customized curricula tailored towards your child. You can pick from here, pick from there, pick from there. I want this book, I want this language art book, and it doesn't have to be from the same place. So that's something that you're free to do. And that was me. I was very flexible. I have been a teacher. I like specific curriculums, or I like things being taught a certain way. So, sometimes I might say, okay, I want him to cover this and so on and so forth. Next, when it comes to covering a wide range of subjects, number two, covering a wide range of subjects and follow a set schedule and grading system, that's pretty typical with traditional schools. Okay, so they cover a wide range of subjects. They follow a set schedule. This class is 40 minutes. The lunch period might be 30 minutes. And they have a grading system. Whatever the system is, for the most part, now that everything's online, whether it's grade school or power school, they have a grade system. So this is how it's set up. However, in homeschool, you can also do the same thing. You can have a wide range of subjects and you can follow a set schedule and you can have a grading system. You can do this also in homeschooling. You can do these things. Let me go down some. Now, but when you are doing subjects at homeschool, like for instance, when you're in regular school, the subject might be 45 minutes of algebra. When you're in homeschool, the child dozen minutes of algebra, the child can do less or the child can do more. A lot of times in homeschooling, you have the opportunity to dig deep, depth into the subject. So your child doesn't have to rush because the teacher is at a certain pace. Your child can take his or her time and actually dig deep and actually understand the subject conceptually, which is extremely important. So it's not like this or that. And then sometimes in school, they might have math. They might have math every in the mornings or science in the evenings, and you can switch it up. You can have math in the morning on Monday and then reading in the morning on Tuesday, or you can switch things up, or you can have it in the afternoon. You can just switch it up. So it's very flexible. You don't have to stick to one particular subject, and it's not good to replicate the traditional school at home. At home, it's more of it's not a hustle and bustle. Of course, you can put time limits on things like that, but this allows your child more processing time to do the problems, which is extremely important, and they don't get that as much in regular school because there's so many kids. There's so many students in school. Your child doesn't get that one-on-one attention. So at home, your child can get that one-on-one attention. If it's not with you, it could be with a tutor or someone that you are comfortable with in the homeschooling process. Also. Okay, now I wanted to talk about, let me see, let me go back a little bit more. Okay. Also, like I said, we talked about, you can also cater the lesson towards your child's interests and learning styles. There's so many different learning styles. You have the visual, the audio, you have the kinesthetic, the read, write. So it's very important for you to learn what your child's learning style is so that you can kind of cater the lesson around that. In school, the teachers are overwhelmed. They have so much going on. So it's not guaranteed that your teacher is going to cater towards your child's learning style. However, some lessons in the school systems are built to where as though they try to cater to multiple learning styles. So they do have that in when it comes to differentiation. The curriculum, now let's go back to the traditional school. Let me go back up so you can see what I'm doing. All righty. All right, 3. Okay, put the traditional school. Okay, naturally advanced, in complexity. So basically, from one grade to the next grade, it gets harder as you go on. As the grade level goes on, the works get harder. The work get harder. Initially, fundamentals or foundational skills such as reading, writing, and math emphasized in the early grades. Writing and math are emphasized in the early grades, whereas in later grades, students explore specialized subjects such as science, history, and literature. However, in homeschool, you don't have to follow that order. Okay. Math and language arts, of course, as fundamental skills, but you can implement science, you can implement history and literature early into really strong in the homeschooling environment. Okay. Now, I put down Okay. I said you can do this, you can follow that. If you want to do the math and the language arts and everything else for the foundational skills and do everything else later, you can. Anything you can do in public school, you can kind of do those same type of things in homeschool. However, homeschool you have more benefits when you do homeschool because you don't have to be restricted to doing things a certain way. And when you try to replicate the traditional way in a homeschool, it doesn't work most of the time because you have more time to progress. You don't have to rush. You don't, there's things you'll see it when you come in, you'll see that there's more things that you can do on homeschool. And I'm going to go, finish through this. And also for B, let's say 3B, you can control how you want your child to explore these subjects. Like I said, you're going to have certain math and you're going to have certain reading skills that's going to be in traditional school. But if you can take your child, go into the yard and you can explore things and count things for math and you can do reading. There's so many different environments you can go into. You can take a trip and you can just explore these concepts in a wealth of many different ways. So you're not just restricted to the classroom, which is a limitation. I mean, they do have field trips in school, but they don't have as many weekly field trips. Okay. You want your child to explore those things. You might want to go into a market to explore math, or you might want your child to read the back of a box, read the tape, the label, so you can, learn about the different things or elements that's inside of various foods. Now, number 4. Okay, number 4, I wanted to say in some school districts may have varied degrees of flexibility in the curriculum. Okay, that they can implement. They can opt for particular textbooks or instructional materials, and offer elective courses tailored and local interests. So basically, when the child is in school, they pretty much know what textbook they're going to use, what curriculum they're following, what materials that goes with it. They get the manipulatives and everything else. With you do not have to stick to one particular curriculum and all those materials that goes with it. For homeschoolers, like I said, you can pick and choose whatever one is best for you, whatever one you like the best. And I said, pretty much, you have what you want to do. You have the freedom. Now, when we talk about teaching methods, in the traditional school, you have a structured curriculum and standardized teaching methods. it's very structured. We have this book, we go on to chapter 1, they might skip chapter 2, go to chapter 3, but things are pretty much structured. It's laid out how things are supposed to be. It's laid out where you're supposed to be by a certain time. We need to cover chapter 1 by the second week of this. We need to be, finished all the concepts by, May or something like that. And so a lot of times teachers are under pressure, so they move really quick. That's why some kids get left behind, because if you know anything about teaching, teachers tend to teach to the it's like, three portions. They have a one third, the gifted and talented or advanced, the one third in the middle, and then the one third on the bottom. Teachers tend to teach to the one third in the middle because those are the kids that are right there on grade level. The ones that are above, without differentiation, they get bored because they're gifted, they're smart. There might become behavior problems. And then the ones down the bottom, sometimes they get left behind, especially if they have IEPs and they're not being implemented and things like that. And a lot of times when they do have IEPs, they're not really on a grade level, but their goals are set. So it's going to be really structured and, like I said, standardized teaching methods. They want to teach them, but it's a little bit Common Core because there's so many different ways to teach it. But some teachers still have their preference of what Common Core strategy they want to teach. Now, when it comes to homeschooling, let's look at 1A. You can effectively be done. The structured curriculum and standardized teaching can be done online, the homeschooling online. Individualized and structured tailors towards your child's learning style and pace. So you can slow down and tailor the lesson towards your child's learning styles. If your child is kinesthetic, you can have an exercise ball and allow him to bounce up and down on the ball as he does his work. Or you can allow him to have a nice fluffy rug and lay on the rug while he does his work. And most times in school, that's not going to work. They do have some teachers that might be the 1% that might allow that, but most teachers don't. And then the pace. If your child is not getting something, he doesn't have to rush through it. You can actually spend time and let him develop those skills by actually digging deep, asking questions. You ask guided questions to push his thinking forward. Not so much telling him what the answer is. Why do you think this? What do you find wrong with it? You want to ask open-ended questions, not yes and no questions, to help push your child thinking forward. All right, now the next thing I want to talk about is the classroom-based instruction with a set schedule and particular learning objectives. Like I said, it's classroom-based, so majority of the time they're going to be in the classroom. Then there are some teachers that might want to take them outside. So I know when I had students, we used the track a lot of times for geometry. But yeah, it's going to be more based. It's going to be a set schedule like we talked before. We need to do the warm-up. We need to do the classwork. You need to write the class notes. You need a motivation. You need an exit ticket. The lesson plan, depending on the teacher, is set up a certain way. A do now, a warm-up. That's what we start with. But when you homeschool, you don't have to start like that. You can just start with just a question and then just have the kid, explore. And then particular learning objectives. So when you go into the average classroom, they have their objectives written on the board. The learning goals are written on the board so the students can know what's being done today. As far as your child, you can talk about the learning goals. You can have it on the paper. You can go over it. You can, look in the book and find out what the learning goals are, or you can decide what you want your learning goal to be at that time. So it's not as structured. So again, for number 2, for homeschooling, you have flexibility to explore the subject in depth and more time on areas of interest. And so if your child likes the bike ride, you can take your child outside and y'all can go bike riding. And that can become an exploration type of learning. When you're riding past, look at the trees, think about photosynthesis and so on and so forth. There's so many different concepts that you can cover riding a bike down the street. Now, number 3, for teaching methods under traditional, opportunities for social interactions and collaboration with peers. Okay. So yeah, you're going to have the kids with their peers, their classmates. You're going to have that every day. So that's a given. That it is definitely a given. However, at homeschool, that can happen as long as you plan opportunity for social interaction and collaboration with the peers by scheduling meetups and things like that. You have opportunities for hand-on learning more and real-world experiences with nature. etc. And so your child can have social interactions. You can join certain groups and, meet with cousins or whoever too, but you have to be actively doing it as a homeschooler. You have to actively do it, but it's possible for you to have that. You can join co-ops where it's like homeschool moms like yourself or homeschool dads, and you can get together weekly. The homeschoolers can say, okay, maybe Miss Mary will teach math today. Susan will teach English. Lakeisha is going to teach science. I mean, some co-op groups pick different people based on the teachers tend to specialize in something. Maybe they are artists. And so that particular day they take art. So when co-op, you can have those type of things and they can bring their children. You can go to the YMCA and there are other homeschool groups that's in your community. You have to look it up, become close to homeschool Facebook groups and things like that. But there's definitely opportunities for you to do that. Socialization. We just talked about that, but we're talking about it again. Socialization opportunities. In the traditional schools, number one, interaction with peers and teachers in a structured environment. So that's who's socializing. The peers, the people that are their age group, and their teachers. That's what the normal socialization is in the traditional schools. However, for homeschool, number one, socialization through community activities. Then, during the daytime, they could have various community activities for homeschoolers. And like I spoke about before, co-ops where parents get together and they actually create opportunities. And homeschooling groups, it can be the homeschool group for New York or the homeschool group for Pennsylvania. Whatever state you're in, there are homeschool groups. And you can see what's going on in those particular groups and you can get with those families also. Now, number two for traditional school, opportunities for group projects, team sports, and extracurricular activities. Yes, you do have group projects, team sports, and extracurricular activities. You can do that also with homeschooling. So with homeschooling, like I said, the co-ops, you can have opportunities for group projects. The students can participate with the district or recreation team sports. So if your child is homeschooling, whatever the local school is, you can go to that school and whatever their high school, go to the high school, contact them. So a lot of times that homeschool kid can participate with those kids in sports and after school. And sometimes the debate teams and things like that. And also, if you want textbooks, you can contact your local school system to get textbooks. Because that's what I did with my son. I said I wanted to see what textbook that they are using: math, language arts, science, and social studies. And I grabbed those books. They loan them to you, and you would give them back. So you're allowed to use the books that's in the local school system. Your child is allowed to play sports that's with the kids in the local school system. And there's probably other things like clubs and things like that. So you benefit from the local school system if you look into it. There's things that a lot of people don't know unless they look into it. And I know because I did it. So, like I said, team sports, extracurricular, we covered that. When you look at number three under traditional schools, exposure to diverse perspectives and cultures, because the kids are in the classroom, they are going to be exposed to different perspectives. Even if the kids are the same race, that it's still going to be different perspective because different people might come from different social, economic levels, or people might come from like different cultures. They might speak different languages. So they do have an opportunity every day to experience that if it's diversity. However, for homeschool, the kids can still be exposed to diverse perspectives and cultures when you plan schedule meetups. Decide on where you're going to go. Go to the museum, go to reading meetups where the person might read and you can learn a lesson or learn about a culture through someone reading a story. There's many opportunities for your child to be socialized. Okay, let me do this. Okay. Right. And then for parental involvement for traditional schools. Parents participate in parent-teacher conferences and school events. So yes, not as many as they should participate. 'Cause I've been on both ends. I've been the parent and I have been the teacher. As a parent, I've been very active, trying to go to every meeting, reaching out via email, sending welcome letters or emails to the teachers before school even starts. I was that parent giving appreciation gifts and so on and so forth. That was me. Now, when I was a teacher on the other end, we will be not happy, but sometimes we'll be sitting around trying to figure out who's going to get the most parents, because sometimes parents don't come to parent teacher conferences, unfortunately, especially the ones you really want to see. The ones you really want to see, sometimes you can't get in contact with because the phone numbers might not work, or the child might be going from house to house. I mean, there's a lot of things happening. So you definitely have the opportunity to participate in parent teacher conferences and school events. Now, when it comes to homeschooling, you get this close parent child relationship. There's an opportunity for you two to become close, and sometimes it can be frustrating. You have to figure out, what works best. You have to have patience, especially if you're working at home and your child learning style is different, or if you're a visual learner and your child is kinesthetic. You have to take breaks sometimes. You have to have your own self-care time. So it can be overwhelming, but you can set boundaries, and yeah, you can set boundaries and you can work out a system that works best for you, especially if you have another parent there. Now, if you don't have another parent there, you just have to be really strategic how you can get your break time in, and make sure you put them down for naps, even if they're a teenager or a preteen, put them down for naps. So yeah, close parent child relationship but you have to be, because it can be a struggle and it can actually pull you away if this is a struggle for you. You can see the beauty in it and you can enjoy it, or you can feel overwhelmed. You're not getting a break. You don't have any help. You don't feel like you're successful. And so there's things in place that you have to do to try to maintain your sanity if that's you. And I made a YouTube video about how to homeschool, so you can check that out. And personalized attention. You're going to be able to give your child personalized attention, or whoever is responsible for helping your child, whether it's a family member, whether it's a tutor or a teacher that you hire to come in and homeschool. Okay. Okay. Assessments and evaluation, which is very important. Assessments and evaluations, which is very important. In traditional schools, that's big, assessment. So assessments are conducted by the teacher and school administrators. Okay. So those are the people that give the test, the teachers and the school administrators. However, in homeschooling, number one, assessments are typically conducted by the parents or the online teachers or the tutor or the responsible adult that you hold responsible for the homeschooling. Remember, when you homeschool, it doesn't have to be you per se. It can be an online teacher, it can be an online tutor, or it can be someone that you trust that homeschooled your child. Of course, that you have seen their clearances and things like that. They're very trustworthy. That homeschools your child. So you can get help with that. Okay. Now, number two, for traditional schools, evaluation methods may include standardized tests, exams, homework, and class participation. Okay, of course, classwork and things like that. So that's how they do it in school. Standardized tests. You have to get a certain score. What is the score going to be? They have to be comparison from the child to the school system, the school to the school. Standardized testing is extremely important in the public school system because they use it as a tool to measure where the kids are or how the teachers are doing and things like that. So as far as homeschooling, evaluation methods may include tests, quizzes, projects, portfolios, and more. You can have homework, you can have class participation, you can do those things. So it's not saying you can't do it, but normally that's done in the classroom. But please implement it in a homeschool if that's what you would like to do or that's what makes you happy. Assessments are very important. And I hear people always saying, oh, they're giving too much assessments for the kids for this. And I understand the kids are under pressure. But in homeschool, your child doesn't have to be under pressure. But your child should be exposed to those test examples. What's going to be on the test? As a homeschooler, you should know, as far as your district, what they're working on. You do not have to teach like the district, but do have an idea what kids are learning in your child's local or the state, have a sense of knowledge for that. Because if you do want to prepare your child for college, your child is going to be competing against those people that have been exposed with those concepts. So I am really into assessments. So I see the SAT as a very important tool where I prepare my children and other people kids to pass the SAT. So, the test taking skills. And then, if you're able to dig deep, then you're able to have that conceptual understanding. And the people that get the highest scores are critical thinkers. So your child could have the advantage being at home because they're able to dig deeper into the subject and actually bond, create, become one with the subject versus in traditional school, the teacher just keep going on. Some kids can keep up, but there are going to be some kids that will get left behind if they're not coach classes, or if the teacher are not doing differentiation, or if the kids might not have an IEP or need extra services or extra tutoring or something after school. So it's possible for the kids who get left behind. For number three, traditional schools. Each state mandates particular academic standards that public schools are required to adhere to, right? There's certain standards that you have to cover, and everyone knows about the Common Core standards. Some parents are going crazy over it because this is new math and the new techniques that they haven't seen before. But the new techniques are so needed where the children think totally different. In the Common Core, if the teacher is able to implement it correctly, the kids need to have a strong foundation. The more that the children have a strong foundation, the easier it will be for the teacher to implement the Common Core strategies. Because some of the strategies are complex. But I taught fourth grade, and the kids loved it. I loved it. I learned a lot of new strategies. So even though the strategies are different, there's a very important piece in each strategy. Some strategies like multiplication, for instance, there's a rectangle method. You make a rectangle and you separate it based on parts, and then the kids multiply based on those parts. It's different than the traditional method where you carry the one, you bring down the zero. It's very different because a lot of the kids don't understand why they're carrying the one. They don't understand where the zero comes from the placeholders. People are teaching strategies, but they're not explaining, and our kids need to understand why. And so it's a disconnect between the Common Core strategies and parents, because parents sometimes are stuck in the traditional way works, so we should use it. But in today's world, some strategies are easier for kids than the traditional way. Especially with the traditional way, some people can't even explain it. And our kids need to know why. Why? Why? And so you might get frustrated, but once you tell them why, they can actually get it. So number 4 was talking about consistency in assessments. When the consistency in the assessments, you are pretty much able to assure that it's successful and compare with other students. However, in homeschooling for number 4, you can choose to have lessons that are consistent with the state assessments. So you can have lessons, you can tailor lessons that are targeting the state assessments as far as the goals and things like that, so that you can ensure that your child is able to keep up. Like I said before, it's very important for your child to be able to compete. If you want them to go to college or you want them to go into like very competitive areas, it's very, very, very important for your child to keep up with what's going on. Your child does not have to be stressed by the pressure and the things that the teacher has going on, because the teacher has a certain amount of time to teach a certain amount of students, to prepare them for a test. You have time to have your child think about a concept. And then once your child gets the concept and those critical thinking skills, your child will sped through. Your child will sped through. And people that have been doing homeschooling correctly, their children tend to be very advanced. Their children tend to be very advanced, and their children can compete. Now, how can parents ensure that their children are academically ready to compete with their peers and get accepted into colleges? How can they ensure that? Now, with homeschooling, or homeschooling, yeah, I'll say homeschooling. Let's talk about homeschooling, but this applies to traditional schooling also. But for homeschooling, you have to be open-minded and organized. You have to be open-minded and organized. Okay. Open-minded because learning is going to take place in different ways. You're not going to always be, your child not going to always be sitting in front of a book and learn. Sometimes there might be a conversation and your child is learning at the kitchen table while playing with Cheerios. So learning can take place at any time. There's moments. Don't let those moments go by. And I say organize because you're going to be held responsible to have your worksheets and to document things that's needed for homeschooling. You can't just homeschool and say, oh, yeah, I homeschool. You're going to be held accountable by a homeschool evaluator or an umbrella or, whatever system you decide to be on, whatever you decide, what program you decide to follow. So it's good now to get ready to have an open mindset because things might not look traditional to you and to be organized because you have to have things in place. Now, keep good records, include report cards. You need to have a report card, transcripts, and a high school resume for your child. Now, later on, when they get to high school, you want to have their resume together if you want them to go to college because certain colleges ask for the resume. You want to learn your child's learning style. You can take this test called the VARK test, VARK, where your child can do it online or your child can do it via PDF. But at the end of the test, you will be able to determine if auditory, right, or kinesthetic. Okay, so it's really good to know that before you start homeschooling, or if your child is in traditional school, it's good for that also. So when you want your child to go to tutoring, you can say, okay, my child is a kinesthetic learner. Can you please tailor the lesson to that? Now, get a curriculum that challenges your child while supporting his or her needs. Now, if the curriculum is easy, you might need to look for a curriculum that's a little bit more difficult. And like I said, in homeschooling, you don't have to stick with the same books. You can go and get another book and ask other homeschoolers which one is a more complex book for, like, if my child needs to be enriched, what book should I use? Have your child assess year to year. I did that. I had my children assess. I assess my children each year to identify their grade level performance. Because just because your child is on third grade doesn't mean that your child grade level performance is third grade. It could be first grade or it could be fifth grade. So it's very important to know where you are. Some people just winging it and say, okay, we have the third grade curriculum, so my child is third grade. But if you get your child tested, you might be surprised, hopefully in a good way, knowing that your child is advanced. But more than likely, with a lot of parents, that child not so much on grade levels. From me having a tutoring business, me being a teacher, a lot of kids since COVID are under grade level. So those skills need to be filled in. They have a lot of educational gaps. Expose your child to different concepts. Expose your child to different concepts and cultures. Yeah, just different concepts. Your child might be into art. You might say, okay, but today we're gonna talk about trucks and how trucks are made, or something different. Diversity is very good for your child, so your child can be very well rounded. Different cultures. Don't just stay in your culture. Go to someone else if they having like a Native American museum. Take them to the Native American museum and try to learn about other people. Okay, know what's on the standardized test and cover those concepts. I talked about that. If your child is going to be competing, you need to know what's on the test. Now, have your child take honors or AP courses online at the school. Now, if you want your child to be advanced, right? So a key indicator as far as math is concerned, your child need to be taking Algebra 1 by 8th grade. If your child is taking Algebra 1 by 8th grade, your child is on an advanced level. Some children are really advanced. They're taking Algebra 1 in 7th grade. So if your child is taking Algebra 1 by 8th grade, your child is in an advanced level. But if your child's taking Algebra 1 by 9th grade, they're on an average general level with everyone else. But if you want those AP courses and things like that, try to make sure your child is prepared to take Algebra 1 in 8th grade. And like I said, with homeschooling, you don't have to rush as much as you do in traditional school. Sometimes traditional school, they make the kids take the Algebra 1 in the summer or pre-algebra in the summer so that those kids can be in Algebra 2 by 8th grade. So the kids are not really having time to learn those skills, but they are being pushed through. Now, this is for high school. Have your child interviewed. This is something called the early enrollment program, where your child can take advanced classes or take college classes at the community college. Okay, so it's called early enrollment. So your child is enrolling into community college early. So if your child is advanced, they can take, after your child has the interview, they have to interview first to see if your child is a good candidate for the program, because they're going to college. They have to be mature and academically ready. So if they're able to pass the interview and go into the early enrollment, they can graduate early, get a associate's degree while they're still in high school, because some kids graduate with a high school diploma and an associate degree, or they can just have extra college courses, so when they go to college, those classes they don't have to take. And so that will save money and it will save time, because they should be doing, not just playing video games, but they could be taking extra classes. Okay. And there's a lot of homeschoolers that do early enrollment. And my oldest son has done early enrollment also. Now, the next one, have your child practice and sit for the pre-SAT, SAT, and or the pre-ACT or ACT test. Now, these tests, people always say optional, but they're not really optional, because if you score high, you're going to get pushed to the top. So there's optional. Think of optional as being opportunity. And now, from what I heard, the SAT is coming back in those very prestigious schools. So you want to make sure that your child can compete with the other students if they're homeschoolers. So yes, they can sign up to take the PSAT. They can sign up to take the ACT. They can actually sign up to take those standardized tests, that the state test that the local school takes. You can have your sign. You can call the local school system and see when the kids are sitting for those tests, and your homeschooler his peers can sit with his peers and take that particular test. Some states is mandatory, but some states is optional. So it's optional, is really up to you. But if it's mandatory for your child to sit for the standardized test, you need to know what's on the test pair. But again, there's opportunity to sit for the pre-SATs and things like that, because your child can get money if they score really high on the pre-SAT, SAT, ACT, and things like that. Colleges will look at them when they score really high. That's free money for you. Free money, scholarships, and things like that. And so one of my sons, two of my sons had a really good score, but one almost had a perfect. And he has been writing for free for his bachelor's, his master's, and that's PhD. So the math SAT, he pretty much almost had a perfect. And, I prepped him for the SAT. He was already smart, but, I did a little something. But yes, so the next thing would be, have your child participate in extracurricular activities. Now, if you're thinking about your child going to college, the colleges look for extracurricular activities. Homeschoolers are really good with this. Their kids are normally in sports. Their kids are normally doing extra activities, whether it's YMCA, this very creative, But the people that are in traditional schools, your child needs to volunteer, especially for them service learning hours and your extracurriculum activities. They don't want sports. Find out what they can do, card tracing, or I don't know, find out something they can do, because they need extracurriculars when it comes to college. And you can't wait till they get to like 12th grade year and try to figure things out. Take time and try to see what sports you can put your child in, even if they're not interested, just so that you can have that on record. Talk to a college advisor. Now, in high school, they have a guidance counselor that they can go to. The responsibility of the guidance counselor is to help the kids prepare for college. But these days, the guidance counselors are overwhelmed. So a lot of the kids in high schools don't have a clue what an SAT is, an ACT, or pre-SAT. And they don't have a clue about the college track or what they need to do, because a lot of the guidance counselors are overwhelmed. So if you're in traditional school or homeschooling, it's very important. Advisor. Now, have your child okay, let me go back. I'm sorry. Have your child apply for scholarships. Okay. Scholarships. When your child in middle school, they probably can apply. I know for sure 9th grade, 10th grade. Your child can apply for scholarships. You see all these kids having millions of dollars in scholarships. They started early. Apply for scholarships. And I also written a PDF on how to write the winning essays for scholarships. So I have a PDF on that. And I have books on the steps to get your child accepted into colleges. I have a book on that. So Basically, the last one, know the college requirements and complete everything that's needed. Books, the Clear and Concise Strategy book for getting your child accepted into college. I have that on different platforms, but you can also research it if need be, find out what the requirements are and take the time. There's a lot of different requirements, and make sure you have those together. Make sure your child have a Common App. The colleges look at all the stuff, the transcripts and everything in a Common App. If your child wants to go to a HBCU, Historical Black College University, make sure they are part of the Black Common App. These are things that needs to be done. And of course about the FAFSA. And you need to look into that because there's a lot of stuff going on, a different ballgame. All right, let's see. Now, my tutoring business is Diverse Interactive Learning Tutoring Center. Again, I am Adrian Cox-Settles. And I have, let me slide down here. Okay. I have to learn more about the things that I offer. I have books. Like I said, I have books to help you prepare your child for college, starting from pre-K all the way to college. I tell you what's needed, what type of conversations you will have, what scholarships your child can apply for. I tell you what YouTube people, your child YouTube influencer you should be following. I talk about a lot of different tips about getting your child ready for college. And I have other books like math books. I have this books. This right here is the yearly homeschool book. Everything you need for the year right here. And so people are pasting things together. I am very organized. I took my organization skills for when I was a teacher. I was excellent in planning. I was the model teacher. They would come into my room. I had all the word walls and everything else. And my lesson plans were always tight. And I took my lesson planning skills, and I planned out this year for homeschooler, this yearbook, which is 291 pages of everything you need, report card template and your activity forms, your field trip forms, and so on and so forth. And then I have a QR code for free assessments. We offer free assessments to get your child access math and language arts. If you subscribe to our newsletter, you'll get a free resource page. And I have resources. I'm very good with resources. And then tutoring services. My tutor, they facilitate tutoring from let's say first grade, because we did pre-K. Sometimes pre-K is a little iffy, long as their parents are able to support. But first grade all the way through college, we help teachers and we help nurses also. So really quick, I'm gonna just explain what I have really quick. Like I said, we offer free online diagnostic tests for math and language arts. I sell the yearly homeschool planner. This is in digital form, paperback, and binder form. Because I'm like, okay. I sell something called portfolio binder kit, where when you have your 3-inch binder, you can put the different sections in. I created the sections for you, so you don't have to figure out where I'm gonna get this, where I'm gonna get that. You just order it and you just put it into your binder. I have the clear and concise strategies on how to get your child accepted into college, from pre-K to college, everything you need to be asking a guidance counselor or the college advisor homeschoolers. I have SAT word search books, how to write winning scholarships. I have a PDF where I went through and put in so much good information if you're trying to write a winning scholarship that get accepted into colleges. Okay, so I have that. Alphabets, tracing, cursive. I have all those different educational books, online tutoring services, first to college, general subjects, and test prep subjects. And of course, we help a lot of homeschoolers. I actually had a homeschool program where homeschoolers came through my tutoring business, and I provided them with the teachers and the curriculum. We don't do that as much, but we do still have tutoring for the homeschoolers. And I have Adrian Life Advice YouTube channel on homeschooling. So on my life YouTube channel, I talk about homeschooling, preparing your child for college, mindset. I talk about habit tracing. I talk about many things, many things. And now, if you subscribe, like I said before, to my channel, but if you subscribe to my weekly newsletter, you'll receive a wealth of information on my free resource page with different resources, videos, formulas, and have a lot of AI tools. And I just went overboard. I have many things for you. But yeah, so yeah, I just don't want to be too long because I can keep going on. But my main point is, Q&A. My main point is you can homeschool. It doesn't have to be you per se. It can be online through a homeschool program. It can be with a teacher. It can be with a tutor, or it can be with someone that's qualified to homeschool your child. Some children are being homeschooled while they're at work. So that is an option. However, if you want to stick with traditional school, that's great also. You might have to still fill in some gaps because, like I said, teachers are under a lot of pressure. You might have to get assessments to see what your child grade performance level is. But the children are being exposed to a lot of things, and both environments are very, very important. I just wanted to let you know that what they do in traditional school, you can find ways of doing it, but it can look different, but you can still cover the content that's needed for your child to have a successful future. There's opportunities. You have to be patient. You have to reach out and get help from people that are willing to help you. And like I said, I'm a big component. I'm a homeschool consultant also. But and like I said, I have homeschool videos, so you can look at the videos. But you do not have to be alone. There are people that have been doing it for years, and there are people might be similar to me that have a wealth of knowledge and years of experience. Like I said, I know about all the different settings. I'm the mother, I'm the teacher, I'm the teacher of the teachers, the homeschooler. So people out here, they are specializing in this particular field. So don't feel alone. Ask for help. Make sure you make time for your self-care, and you can do that. And so thank you so much for joining me for my workshop on the pros and cons of homeschool versus traditional schooling. Again, my name is Adrian Cox-Settles, and I didn't talk about this, but this is my concise book. And when you scan my QR codes, you will be able to see all of my books. I have so many books I wasn't even able to talk about. But thank you for joining me and have a great day.